Hey, it's NayUpliftingOthers. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a subscriber, hey, uplifters. Let's talk about sexual abuse in churches. This is a tough one, of course. Not of course, but this is the one that rarely people talk about. But let's get into it. Clergy abuse is a form of sexual abuse perpetuated against adults or minors when a clergy intentionally uses their power and positions to exploit or sexually abuse a member of their congregation. It can look like other forms of sexual harassment and assault. Of course, I have my handy dandy notebook. This is what I always use. Sexualizing conversations, touching and hugging without consent, creating an environment of hostility, pressure for sexual involvement, using sexual language and jokes, and purposely invading personal space. This topic is really not talked about enough. If it doesn't really get that much attention because a lot of times people ignore, especially when it's dealing with churches, because we don't want to look at place where we worship and whatnot as being a bad place. But a lot of times people have suffered in silence dealing with people in the church sexually abusing them in any type of way, shape, or form. And the victims, of course, don't want to come forward because of who the person is, how much power they possess or have, and who they are. Like a lot of times, I watched a video like a while back when a lady, like in front of the whole church, like came out and was like pretty much told the pastor, or like was talking about how the pastor was raping her for years. As she was telling her story about how the pastor was raping her for years, they were trying to silence her. They were trying to make her shut up so bad because, of course, it's uncomfortable, it's awkward, and we don't want to believe the people that we look up to or we trust to be the main ones to hurt us. And it's hard in itself to be a rape victim or a rape survivor or sexual abuse survivor of any kind. And people don't believe us as it is. But being in the church is even hard. I'm not putting a comparison to the type of abuse or who abused you, or who abused a victim, but I'm just saying in general, it's just like the stigma, it's more silenced. If it's anybody of power, it's silenced as it is. And it just, people would rather brush things or push it under the rug instead of confronting the predator, confronting the rapist or whoever it is about what they have done. Is a lot. And that, it makes my blood boil because I do this for a reason. Like, when I found my purpose, it was literally like in church. It's like God spoke to me clear as day. And a lot of times, a lot of stuff go on in churches that are ignored or that people don't want to talk about because it makes the church look bad, but nobody thinks about the victims. And that is never okay. Never okay. He's a man or woman of God. I don't believe it. That's what people are, I'm pretty sure, famous for saying. Because who wants to believe that person that's a man or woman of God would ever do something that's that vile? A lot of times people make victims and survivors feel shame, guilt, and being uncomfortable sharing trauma because of who the person is. And that is never okay. A lot of times victims are silenced because of how much damage it will cause somebody. And we don't worry about the victim, but we want to worry about the rapist. We want to worry about the person that has actually done the crime. We care about their image more than the victim struggling and dealing with their traumas and their aftermath of what has happened to them. Of course, I do my research and really take this serious. Okay, so I was scrolling on Instagram and I seen this in Wisconsin pastor arrested in child prostitution and human trafficking sting. It's the people that we trust because of their position. We trust them enough for them to lead us to God and to help us on our journey to God and worshiping and all that stuff. We trust people, and some people, and it's crazy because we put people in general on a pedestal because we don't want, I don't know why we do it as people, but we put people on a pedestal and we act like they're not human, and they are. There's no making excuses, but we put them on a pedestal so much that when they do crimes and they do horrible things, we don't want to believe it because of the position that they hold. And it crushes us. It breaks our hearts. But at the same time, they're human and they're capable of doing horrible things. And we have to realize that. I'm going to speak about like ritual. I want to get deep into like clergy abuse, but at the same time, like it's hard for me, but I'm not being, I don't want to be closed off about it as well. But, let's talk about ritual abuse. Ritual abuse the term ritual abuse is generally used to mean repeated, extreme, sadistic abuse, especially of children within a group setting. The group often has an ideology of some kind which is used to justify the abuse, and the abusive rituals in turn are used to reinforce its ideology. These activities are kept secret from society at large because they violate society's norms. It's really black and white, and we don't want to think about things that make us uncomfortable. We don't want to think about the things that can possibly go on and it's in places that are supposed to be safe for us. We don't want to think about it. Of course, like I said, I do my research and I came across this article. I'm just going to read like a few pieces from it. For decades, church officials have protected the sexual predator under their employment while abandoning child sex molestation survivors that suffer the impact that lasts their entire lives. Many sexual predators died years ago, never being held accountable for their unspeakable acts. It's normal to brush things under the rug, but I'm pretty sure in high positions, people brush things under the rug and they ignore the signs. They don't want to think about it because of who the person is, and that's never okay. And I have some statistics right here. I'm gonna leave the article in the description box to this if I don't forget. If I do, I apologize in advance because, yeah. In 2002, 11,000 allegations of sexual misconduct involving nearly 4,400 Catholic priests in the U.S. Approximately 4% of all active Catholic priests in the U.S. between 1950 and 2002 had been accused of sexual abuse of minors. By 2008, the John Jay report added hundreds of more names to the list of the accused Catholic priests, deacons, and other living and deceased religious leaders, totaling 5,375 accused predators, including many that had been a part of the church cover-up. And just to be clear, I was just skimming through that article. It's for me to bring awareness and for us to educate ourselves on different types of abuse. So this is needed. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services data defines child sex molestation as any sexual conduct between minor victims and adults. Blatant sexual contact, including intercourse, genital, manual stimulation, and oral or genital contact. Fondling the child or predator's genitals or other body parts in a prolonged or sexual manner. inappropriate kissing between minor victims and predators, inappropriate touching intending to sexually arouse the predators or minor victims, sexual coercion, sexual contact by a predator at any developmental stage older than the child, stimulating behaviors including photographing the child, showing explicit erotic material, or talking sexually toward the minor. Local law enforcement officials may identify sex molestation and sex offenders differently than the above list. Victims or survivors of any abuse suffer traumatically from being abused in itself, and how it's so much aftermath that goes on dealing with trauma. It's not just someone being raped or touched and it's over. It's a lifetime of healing and becoming a new person. I feel like I have to bring awareness to these subtopics about stuff like this, like clergy abuse, because if more people are aware of it, then more people can help themselves or help their loved ones or help people they know in their community. This was a hard one. I feel like a lot of times awareness videos are hard in itself, but just be mindful and just possibly open your eyes to different forms of abuse, and knowing that anyone can be a victim and anyone can be a predator. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe.